Hi, welcome back to the farm. My name's Roz, also known as Passion Flower, and you'll find me here each week talking about my farming and creative life. The weather is absolutely wild outside right now. It's really windy, it's grey, it's heavy rain, and we've had heavy rain for most of the last week, pretty much I said it was wet last week, but since I finished recording last week and now it has been like proper rain. We've had our creek flood, the local roads have flooded, there's been like detours and all that kind of thing. Not like flash flooding, but enough that everything's just super wet, really muddy, and the creek is super high, the dam is really full, all of that kind of thing. So we're in like proper winter now. It felt like we are going to have a really dry winter, and now all of a sudden we're getting all of the rain all at once. So everything is very wet. We're not getting any growth in the grass. Hopefully the moisture in the ground will help once the rain clears. But the sheep are still in the enclosed area over closer to the house, not out here at the shed. The grass is still pretty short around here, nice and green. But as soon as they come back in, it'll just be gone completely. So we're keeping them over in that other area for a while longer. We had created a feeder for them with the hay so they could just get through and eat the hay through the slats that we'd put up. But they had eaten so far back now that we had to we first forked some of it forward, and that was fine. But because it's a big one of those rolls, it's now at the point where it's broken up too much to be able to roll, and it's really heavy. And in that small space, it's hard to maneuver now that we've got it in there. So there's actually a door on the side to that shelter. So now what we've done is opened that door up so they can get in and around the bale, so they get shelter and food. And hopefully that's going to be enough to keep them happy and satisfied. There's still tons of hay there. It's just whether or not it makes them happy or not. They tend to bar at me when I walk past, and so if I give them some grain, that cheers them up, makes it a little bit different from the dry hay all the time. But on a day like this, when it's pouring rain, I'm not going to put grain out because it's just going to get soggy and go to waste. So they are just going to have to eat their dry hay. On one of the very rare dry afternoons this week, which was lucky, we had the representative from Landcare come out and someone from Melbourne Water. We went down and had a look at the dam and the planting down there, and they're really happy with how that's progressing. We then went down to the creek and did a walk along the creek to look at weeds and blackberries and all of that kind of thing. For the last couple of years, we have had a grant from Melbourne Water for the creek line to get a contractor in to treat weeds along the creek so that it is done properly and not contaminates the waterways. So they have done blackberries and they did ivy last time, and that looks to have been very effective. What happens when you remove a weed is that initially, until the native plants have a chance to regenerate, and in some areas they have, but if the native plants don't get going quickly, what happens is another invasive weed comes in and replaces the previous invasive weed. So we now have a little bit of tobacco tree plant coming through, which is a weed. And so they were looking at the progress in terms of what has been happening with the grants that we've been getting, and then starting an application for another round of assistance so that we can get that tobacco tree plant under control, and also potentially to do some planting in some of the areas where the native plants haven't quite been able to take a hold as quickly as we might like, so that those other weeds don't come back. So that's kind of the next phase of where we're at with sort of our rejuvenation and regeneration of the farm and with the bush. Today I chose to wear my Calliope jumper by Espèce Tricot. French, I'm not sure that I said that properly. It's knit from Cola Girl Collective in the Gently Gently colorway. That's the grey and the tweed. And the pink at the collar and the sleeves is Nomad Farms, and it's a botanically dyed light pink. And I got both of these yarns on the Unwind craft cafe cruise that I did in 2023 from Yarn Trader. So yeah, I decided that I'd make them into a jumper together. It's a really beautiful fabric. It's nice and light. I chose a large needle size. The collar sits beautifully and it's just nice and baggy and comfortable. I'm a little not sure about these sleeves, so I haven't worn it a ton. I chose to do it in the two colors. It was supposed to all be in one, but I kind of split it up so that I could use both the yarns because I couldn't get enough of each of these to make an entire jumper, and that's what I really wanted to do, sort of to make the most of the souvenir yarn that I'd bought. So I'm not sure whether I'm going to maybe rip the sleeves out. I've had it sitting and I haven't worn it, and I just thought I'm going to put it on today and see how it feels. And the rest of the jumper feels really good. I'm just not really entirely, I'm going to show you, entirely sure if the sleeve is right. I've kind of had it folded so it looks a bit square, but maybe if I oh, that's cute. I think I'm going to fold the sleeves. That's it. Yeah. So if I fold the sleeves, I've got like a 3/4 sleeve. That looks much better. There we go. Styling on camera. So I've rolled the cuffs. I think that looks really nice. And yeah, this yarn is beautifully soft, and I really love the way the fabric is knit up. Oh, I didn't mention it's an 8-ply yarn. They're both 8-ply, and I think I knit them on a 4.5 or a 5. So I think maybe even a 5. And I will leave the links below to the dyers and to the shops and also to the pattern. As this video goes live, it is the third and final day of the sheep show in Bendigo. So if you have gone or are going today, I hope you have a really wonderful time. I did decide not to go, and I'm only slightly regretting it. I've been living vicariously through lots of posts on Instagram and through my group of friends who did go on the Friday while I was at work. I've seen lots of lovely stashes, but I'm okay. As you saw in recent videos, I have plenty of really lovely stash, and I want to plan to use that rather than add any more right now. So that's what's going to be happening. But it was really lovely to see all of that beautiful yarn online. If you do get a chance to go today, as this video goes live, my yarn is available at the Tea Time Yarn Retreats stall and also at the Crystal Cat Stitchery stall. Liz at Crystal Cat Stitchery has beautiful bags, and she also is stocking some scrap packs and some DK mini skein sets of my yarn. And Bali of Tea Time Yarn Retreats is selling notions and bags, and also you can find out information about her wonderful retreats that she runs. And she has some of my DK yarn in a pack with a pattern that she designed for a cow, which we collaborated on earlier this year. So if you go and you want to find any of my yarn, go there, but also support them and support everyone else. Lots of great small businesses that need your support. It has been a while since I've dyed any yarn, but I have just ordered a few new dye colors, which I'm a little bit excited about. As I've explained before, I generally only use 14 different colors of dye powders, and so what it kind of covers is warms and cools of the basic colors, with a few that are more difficult to mix yourself. And then what I do is I mix and blend and create my own colors from those powders. So there's a few sort of gaps that I have discovered that I want to now play with. One of those is a navy blue. Navy blue is very difficult to create from the colors that I had, and I was looking for a much darker blue. I also grabbed some silver grey because I had a custom order for something that requires silver grey, so I'm going to have a play with that, and I have some ideas of some new colorways that will incorporate this. And I grabbed a spruce green. So again, a darker green. The greens that I have been mixing and blending to this point have been much more on the lighter, cooler kind of spectrum, and this is a much darker, warmer kind of green. So it's again something to play around with. So I'm thinking that probably in the coming weeks I can show you some results of some experiments with these colors, and I am working on something for Christmas. Over my holidays, which finished at the end of last week, I did a lot of knitting, which I really enjoyed. It was nice to just sit and knit and not really do anything else. But by the end of last week, I actually had quite a lot of wrist pain and pain through my thumbs. Um, so it was kind of good that I went back to work because I stopped with the knitting, because even when I was sore, I still wanted to. I tried a little bit, but I did stop working on my honeycomb shawl because it was quite heavy, and I think that's what was actually causing the issue with my wrist. But I did get a little more progress before I put it down, which I'll show you now. So this is out of my hand spun yarn, and I'm down into the brown now. So I've only got brown, purple, and pink to go. And I'm using the Dover Queensland Collection for the main color. So here is the progress from last week. And as you can see, I have done nowhere near as much as I'd done the week before. I think I was even down into the green last time, and I did a whole lot. This time just a little tiny bit, but into the brown. But it was getting really heavy on the needles. I might need to actually put it onto a bigger cord so that it will relieve some of the stress off my wrist. I'm not sure that I made a ton of progress on my socks either. Again, just because I was having some pain, I decided not to work on such small needles, but that's a little bit of sock progress. This is from Half Baked Hand Dyed, and it is the second of some shorty socks that I am working on. That's the first one. I think maybe next week, so I kind of gloss over my socks, but I think maybe next week I will talk about how I create my socks, so what my formula is, because I have taught some sock knitting classes, and just this past week I've had a couple of people reach out and ask for some reminders about how to do some of the bits of a sock. So I might just talk through my recipe. Even though I didn't do a ton of knitting, I actually do have a finished project. I did a washcloth for our kitchen, and I have cast on another one. I don't know what the colorway is, but this is 8-ply cotton from Bendigo Woolen Mills, and I'm just going to make a few more of these. That might be what I do this afternoon. We use these all the time in our kitchen, and after a while they start to wear and get holes and everything, so it's time to replenish our stocks of those. And I just used the grandmother's favorite dishcloth pattern, which is a really super simple corner to corner knit square, and so you can make it to any size with any size needles, and you just choose a fabric that you like and away you go. And the other thing I did was I knit a swatch. Isn't it a pretty colour? This is from Fairfield Fins, and it is a 4-ply, and it is dyed with natural logwood. I've got 2 of these balls. They're 200 grams each, and I've decided that I'm going to make myself a open fronted cardigan with it. So the Evanescence jacket is on hold, the 2 mohairs together, all that. As much as I want to make it eventually, this has kind of caught my eye right now. So I knit a swatch, and I'm roughly on gauge. And I think if I knit the smallest size, given that it's slightly off, I will get the amount of ease that I need, because it's actually coming out a little bit bigger than what the pattern calls for gauge. Isn't that color really pretty? It's my color, absolutely. So the pattern that I'm going to make is called the Little Love. I can't pronounce the designer, but I'll leave the details below and I'll see if I can figure out how to pronounce it for next week. But it's part of a whole ebook. There's 4 different versions of this cardigan. There's I think it's the Great Love, Big Love, Long Love, and Little Love. So the long and the little are both done in a 4-ply, and they're pretty much the same pattern except for the amount of length that you put into it. And I think I'm going to knit somewhere in between the two. So make it sort of a longish cardigan, but not like a down to the like past the bum kind of cardigan. And then the other 2 are knit in a worsted weight, I believe, and they are more like chunky coat kind of. And I thought I'll buy the whole ebook because it wasn't that much more to purchase the 4 patterns as it was to just buy one. And then I could play around with gauge and all of that. And I really do love an open swinging cardigan. So to have the option across a whole lot of different yarn weights to create over time would be really good. So I know last week I said I was looking at patterns that I already had, but this one was in my queue. I just hadn't actually purchased it. It had been recommended to me by a lovely lady who was at the Tea Time Yarn retreat that I stayed at, and she had made one and had it, and it looked really great on her. And so, yeah, it's been in my mind that it's something that I want to make. So I have the 2 balls of this, and I think that will be enough to make, because that's 400 grams. So that's a lot of meterage in a 4-ply. So I should be able to get a good length. I thought if I just sort of knit the top and maybe then pause and do the sleeves and then just see how much I can get done in the body until it's at a length that I'm happy with. So that's what I've been doing this week. Again, there's my really pretty swatch. And I don't normally swatch, but I just, because I wasn't feeling that great with my wrist, I thought maybe I can just do a little swatch, and then I could block it and measure it and do all of that kind of stuff. So it was knitting adjacent, but it wasn't actually knitting. So that's what I've done this week. Well, that's it for another week. Thanks for spending some time with me. If you're enjoying these videos, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I look forward to seeing you next week on the farm. Bye.